What's your most embarrassing moment? Like the one that you're almost embarrassed to talk about? Mine is when I clogged a toilet and still had to poo. And there was no plunger. And I didn't have a cell phone to call anyone. So I looked at the shower next to me. What's your most embarrassing moment? Like the one that you're almost embarrassed to talk about?
Okay, I can talk about this now because I'm old now. I don't give a crap. So anyway, I was in tech school in Biloxi, Mississippi. And we shared rooms with our schoolmates. And I was on the top bunk of a bunk bed. And I had a dream that I had went to the urinal. I had to pee so bad, and I just let go. And then I woke up. And forgetting I was on the top bunk, I leaped out of the bed, fell in the floor, nearly broke my neck. I did finally make it to the bathroom. But, yeah, that happened. So, that's my most embarrassing thing that I can think of. Y'all take care.
Tell me about a time you almost died from embarrassment. I'll go first. It's my first year teaching at a new school. So one of my students' parents was known as the hot dad of the school. Great, awesome, totally blessed I get him my first year. So I'm doing parent drop-off. Dad wasn't a big talker, which is fine because you don't have to be when you're that pretty. But today he's being super nice and talking my ear off. So of course, I'm engaged in conversation with him. Conversation's done, I turn my focus to the other parents dropping off. But in the background, I hear this dad say, okay, say goodbye to daddy. Clearly, he wasn't talking to me. He was talking to his daughter. But for some strange reason, I responded with, goodbye, dad. Stopped myself, because I saw the look of horror on his face, but felt like it was too awkward enough to finish off. So I said, goodbye, daddy. And I wanted to melt through the sidewalk floor. I wanted to quit. I wanted to change my name and move to a different country. Mom picked up in the afternoon that day, and I still cringe when I think about it. Tell me about a time you almost died from embarrassment.
So many years ago, when I was learning how to bottom, I met this guy, and he taught me the whole tutorial of how to properly clean myself out and how to use an enema, right? So this guy also had a very large situation, if you know what I mean, and because I was so fresh and new, I wasn't used to it. So he gives me some numbing lube, and he gives me this other situation that helps relax, the back area. And he's just going to town on me, and I'm just okay, whatever. So he finishes and he gets off of me, and then I'm like, what's that smell? It stinks so bad. Well, it was like he hit a new area of my intestine or something, because literally a lot of shit came out. I'm not talking about little nuggets or little pieces. I'm talking about it looked like a diarrhea explosion.
What is the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you? I'll go first.
Okay, I've got a good one. Most embarrassing thing to happen to me. I was an assistant manager of Gamestop, and I was really efficient and good at what I did. So I was really fast, all this stuff. So I noticed we're pretty busy one day, and people keep coming into my line. Lots of men. Well, it's mostly men who shop there, so I don't think anything of it. I'm just checking everyone out, blah, 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 being friendly, being my normal self. And people keep looking down at me, in this area. And again, I don't think anything of it because a lot of them are just dudes. And I'm like, okay, so I keep going. Well, one guy was like, you are the best. And going on. And I'm like, okay, thank you, have a great day. But they're doing it creepy. The way I'm saying it just sounds nice, but they were kind of creepy. Well, then finally this woman gets in my line, and I'm like, hi, and she goes, hey, your shirt is unbuttoned and everyone can see everything, and that's why all the men keep coming over. And I was beyond mortified. And so I just quickly ran to the bathroom and fixed it, and I had an undershirt on, but it had gotten down too, because GameStop, I worked really hard. I would have to climb up and do all kinds of stuff way up high. So I guess it had kind of gotten down without me knowing, even though I tried to take the precautions. But anyway, that was my most embarrassing moment.
What is the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you? I'll go first. I was a brand new bank teller, and I'm nervous as all hell. They kept telling us, use your customer's name 3 times in every transaction. My second or third customer walks in, and I'm like, okay, use the customer's name 3 times. Use the customer's name 3 times. And I open up the profile, and it says the Han. The Han. Okay, just go with it. I'm like, hi, the Han, how can I help you today? He looks at me strangely and he's like, okay, can I make a deposit? So I'm like, sure, the Han, anything else for today, the Han? Why do you keep calling me that? And I'm like, the Han, that's your name. My name's Steve. So I turn over the profile, I'm like, look, it says the Han. And he's like, the Honorable, I'm a judge. At this point, I'm so embarrassed, I start calling him your honor. And he's like, that's not necessary. And I'm like, no, you studied a lot, you deserve it. What is the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you?
I could write a book on most embarrassing thing that's happened to you. That's happened to me in my life. But the first thing that came to mind when I saw this stitch was 10 years ago, I worked at this company and this really sweet Korean family worked as the janitors there. And I'm Korean. I don't speak it well, and you're about to find out. But I bumped into them in the hallway on the way to the restroom. And the husband and wife, they wanted to introduce me to their daughter who had just started working with them. And I should have said, 반가워요, which means nice to meet you. And instead I said, 반가워요, which means the fart is coming. And I did this while bowing. I was met with blank stares, nervous, oh. And they never looked at me the same after that. And then I left the company not long after that incident.
What's your most embarrassing moment? Of course I'm gonna go first. I was in 8th grade. Had the biggest crush on this kid. In fact, I was gonna marry him. His cousin was my best friend, so I was privy to the family party. I had the sexiest skirts on that day. We went floating down the river. Unfortunately, I was on my period. Maxi pads and rivers, they don't go together. I soaked up the whole damn river in that maxi pad. We went and played baseball later on. Of course, the sticky isn't gonna stick anymore with the pad. I hit the most beautiful ball to first base, and that's where he was. As I was running, my maxi pad fell out and stuck to my calf. Once I realized, I scraped it off and ran for second. Rumor has it, that's the day he found out about periods.
What is the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you?
Busting my ass on this skate floor.
When I was at school, right, and we was in music, and we was sitting there, we just got in the classroom, right, and I had farted so loud. I'm dead! Did anybody know it was you, though? Yeah! Oh.
Stitch this and tell me your most embarrassing moment. I'll go first. So I had been meaning to take an online eye test through 1-800-CONTACTS, and I kept forgetting about it. So one day when I was getting out of the shower, I thought, you know what, let's do it right now. I have my phone on me. I remembered to do it. I'm just going to do it. It had you stand far away, like 10 feet away from your phone, cover one eye, read the numbers, cover the other eye, read the numbers, stuff like that, cover, whatever. I get done, I send it in, it says, okay, a doctor will review this video and then approve your contacts. And that's when I realized I had just been standing there naked because I had just gotten out of the shower for the entire video. And now a doctor was going to look at it and see if I could still see as well as I could.
Let me know your most embarrassing moment.
All right, GBD, I got you. So get this. I was about 8, and I was sitting in one of those wooden desks, the old-time wooden desk where it came up to the top. Anyways, you know which one I'm talking about. Had the little books at the bottom. And there just so happened to be a little hole in my seat. Just, it was just there, and I was bored, so my finger was going around. All of a sudden, it got stuck past the knuckle. Okay? The bad thing about it was in between my legs. Right. So had to raise my other hand, tell the teacher I can't get it out. They had to unbolt the seat, call the maintenance man. Whole 9 yards, tried soap, everything, could not get it out. Yeah. Then they had to call my mother and ask her to come here, please, because they had to cut my finger out of the seat. So I am walking down the halls with the seat attached to my finger, walking down the halls. They cut it out. I no longer stick my finger in holes.
Let me know your most embarrassing moment, event of your entire life. I'll go first. I'm approximately 14 years old. And after playing hide and go seek and running down the road and doing flips and all this kind of stuff, I end up in a camper that nobody was in there, just me. And there was a blue and gray sleeping bag in there. Not just any blue and gray and blue, if you will, sleeping bag, but it was silk. It was silk. Feels so good on my body. And I lost my virginity to that sleeping bag while 7 of my friends was peeking in through the windows of the camper and watched me.
What's the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you? I'll go first. I didn't have a lot of luck with women when I was younger, but one time I got with an American girl in a club and I went back to her hotel room and we did the wild thing. It was awesome. A couple of weeks later I started getting a bit itchy downstairs, so I had to take myself to the clinic. After a poke and a prod, they decided they needed to get in a senior consultant. So I was lying there with almost an inverted penis when this 60-year-old man came in with a clipboard talking to me about my dong. He mumbled a lot and didn't make eye contact. I couldn't understand a fucking word he said. As I apparently had something quite rare, he asked if he could bring in some students he was teaching in the room next door to have a look. In for a penny, in for a pound. As he was talking, I heard him mumble through some technical shit that I didn't understand, poking my dick with a pencil whilst he mumbled herpes. Herpes? And I actually started crying. After a few seconds, I had a look at what they were poking at and I realised something. Fortunately, I couldn't stop laughing. And with all the dignity I could muster, I said, "That's not herpes. That's where I nicked myself shaving my balls."